Lesson 10.7, Elapsed Time. In today's lesson, we're going to discuss how can you solve elapsed time problems by converting units of time. So let's go ahead and get started. You will notice off to the side of my page, we have our units of time conversion. And so when we're talking about units of time, we're talking about seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, and years. And I need to have these memorized in order for me to do my conversions. You're going to see conversions presented to you multiple ways. One way is going to be a word problem, and the other way would be just a straight up conversion where they're going to give you a unit of time, and you have to convert it into another unit of time. Today we're going to start with our word problem. And so our word problem states, Jill spent much of her summer away from home. She spent 10 days with her grandparents, 9 days with her cousins, and 22 days at camp. How many weeks and days was she away from home? So let's go ahead and locate my important information. So I see that she was 9 days with her cousins, 10 days with her grandparents, and 22 days at camp. I want to go back and reread my question to make sure I understand what's being asked of me. And it says, how many weeks and days was she away? So that's what I have to convert my days into. So the first thing I'm going to do is add up the total amount of days. So 10 plus 9 plus 22. Well, 10 plus 22 is 32. And then if I add the 9, she was away for 41 days. Now I want to take 41 days and I want to convert it into weeks. So days to weeks. And so I need to find that information. And I know that there are 7 days in 1 week. And so I'm going to have to use the number 7 to convert into weeks. Since I'm going into a larger unit, I'm actually going to have to take the number of days and divide it by 7. So 41 divided by 7. So I know that 7 can go into 41 5 times, which gets me 35. And if I subtract that, I get a remainder of 6. Well, that 5 is telling me how many weeks she was away, and my remainder is telling me that's how many days. So Jill was away 5 weeks and 6 days. Another method that we can use, or another type of problem, is going to be asking us how much time has gone by, finding the end time or finding the start time. And we call that elapsed time. And so in this particular problem, Monica spent 2.5 hours working on her computer. If she started working at 10:30 a.m., what time did Monica stop working? And the method I'm going to use is a number line. So I have a number line that's written here. Since she's starting at 10:30 a.m., that's that large bar here. And I'm going to show every hour by a large bar. So if this is 10:30, this is going to be 11:30. And then my next large bar is going to be, 12:30, and my last large bar would be 1:30. Then I'm going by halves. Half of 10:30 and 11:30 is actually going to be 11 o'clock. Half of 11:30, 12:30 is 12 o'clock, and half of 12:30 to 1:30 is 1 o'clock. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at 10:30 and I'm going to count 2 full hours. So 1, 2. So that puts me at 12:30. But I still have this 1 half. And so I'm going to go over 1 half, which puts me at 1 o'clock. And so Monica stopped working at 1 o'clock p.m. Another way you can solve this type of problem is by using what we call an analog clock. This is what an analog clock looks like. It's different from a digital clock. So a digital clock will actually give us the numbers and time. Analog clock has the hands, and we have to figure out the hour, the minute, and then also some clocks have the second hand. And so what you would do with an analog clock is you'd set the clock to your start time, which is 10:30, and this is what our clock says right here. So here's our start time. I'm then going to move. So if I'm starting at 10:30 and I want to go 2 hours, well, 10:30 to 11:30, 11:30 to 12:30. And that puts me at 12:30. That's my 2 hours right here. And then I want to go a half an hour. So if I move this 6 over, half of this clock, it's going to put me right back here, but it's going to make me go to the 1 o'clock hour. And so that would be 1/2. And so my end time would be 1 o'clock. And this is what our end time looks like right here. Let's go ahead and take a look at another problem. In this problem, Robert's soccer team needs to be off the soccer field by 12:15 p.m. Okay. Each game is at most 1 3/4 hours long. What time should the game begin? So this tells me I want to work backwards since I have to find the beginning. So again, I have my analog clock here that I can use. And what I'm going to do is I have to look at my information first. So the 1 hour I got, but I see this 3/4. Well, what does 3/4 of an hour look like? And so let's just draw this out on the clock. I can see that my clock is actually divided into 4 sections, right? This would be 15 minutes. This is another 15 minutes. This is another 15 minutes, and this is another 15 minutes. And so 1/4 would put me right here, 15 minutes, right? Second, that's 1/4. Second, this would be 2/4, or what we know as 1/2, so half an hour. This part right here would be 3/4. And then finally, this part right here would bring me back to 4/4, or 1 whole hour. So if I take a look, 15 plus 15 plus 15, that equals 45 minutes. And I need to know that 3/4 of an hour is equivalent to 45 minutes. All right, so let's take those notes off here. And let's go ahead and solve now that I understand what 3/4 of an hour is. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be working backwards. So they have my start time here at 12:15, and I want to go back that 3/4. So if I go from here to here, that is the 45 minutes. That puts my time, this was 12:15, it now brings me back to 11:30. Then I want to go back 1 hour. So that was 12:15. So here I am at 11:30. I want to go back an hour. That's going to put me at 10:30. And so my answer is 10:30 a.m. I also can do this by creating a number line. So earlier we saw a number line that used starting with a half hours. You also can do it where you have the whole hours, and sometimes that's easier. So I know that I have to end by 12:15 a.m. So I'm going to put 12 here. I'm going to put 1 here. I'm going to put 11 here, and I'm going to put 10 here. Those are my hours. Then I want to go ahead and show my half hours. So half of 12 and 1, half of 11 and 12, and half of 10 and 11. So this is going to be 10:30. This is going to be 11:30. And this is going to be 12:30. Okay. Then I need to go back, and I want to split that up even more. So half of a half, half of a half. All right, so between 10 and 10:30, this is going to be 10:15. Between 10:30 and 11, it's going to be 12:45. Between these two would be 11:15. Between these two would be 11:45. Then I have 12:15, and I have 12:45. I'm going to go ahead and get my starting point at 12:15. So here is 12:15, and I want to go back. Excuse me. So 12:15, going backwards. I can do this a couple ways. I can go back 3/4, so it would be 1, 2, 3. That puts me at 11:30. And then I want to go 11:30 minus 1 hour. So from the green to green, Okay, so I have 11:30. So now I had to go back 1 hour. So that brings me all the way here to 10:30. And so my start time should be 10:30 a.m. What you're going to do now is in your math notebook, you're going to copy down this problem and you're going to use any of the strategies that we discussed today in the video to solve it. And so I should see your work shown, whether it is a number line, whether if you are going to convert the units by showing a T-chart you could use, or if you're going to go ahead and draw the analog clock, that's also something that you can use. Once you have that done, go ahead and hit play. Finally, in your math notebook, you're going to write down the essential question: how can you solve elapsed time problems by converting units of time? So as you see in your summary, we discussed how to convert time with our measurements. We discussed how to use a number line. And we discussed how to use the analog clock. And I should see these 3 points mentioned in your summary when you're explaining how to solve for elapsed time or converting. So this should be a 3 to 5 sentence summary. Once you have this done, your video is complete, and I look forward to discussing this with you in class.